The gun was shaking in her hands. Not wildly, but enough for me to know she wasn't pretending. It was aimed straight at my wife's stomach, and my unborn child. For a moment, the world stopped making sense. The quiet suburban street of Willow Creek Heights, the place we chose because it felt safe, had turned into a nightmare. Birds were still chirping. A lawn sprinkler hissed somewhere nearby, but none of it felt real. My wife, Lena, stood frozen on our front lawn, one hand instinctively shielding her pregnant belly. She was 7 months along. Her breathing was shallow, eyes wide with terror. Across from her stood Margaret Doyle, the HOA president. Her face was twisted in rage. "You have 72 hours," she screamed. 72 hours, or I will take everything you own." My heart slammed against my ribs. That gun wasn't supposed to exist in this story. None of this was. So let me take you back to when Willow Creek Heights still felt like a dream instead of a trap. We moved into Willow Creek Heights 6 months earlier. It was our first home. Lena was 3 months pregnant then, tired, nauseous, but glowing with excitement. We'd saved for years, skipped vacations, worked overtime, all so we could buy a modest 3-bedroom house with a small yard, a place where our daughter could play. The neighborhood looked perfect. Manicured lawns, friendly smiles, kids riding bikes. The kind of place people call quiet and family-oriented. On our second day, Margaret Doyle knocked on our door. She was tall, mid-50s, sharp posture, short blonde hair that never moved out of place. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to Willow Creek Heights," she said, handing me a thick binder. "I'm the HOA president. These are our community covenants. Please read them carefully. We maintain standards here." The binder was massive. Over 200 pages. Rules for grass height, fence paint, door colors, parking, decorations, noise, mailboxes, even where trash bins could sit and when. "Seems thorough," I said, forcing a smile. "Standards protect property values," Margaret replied coldly. "And they protect us from people who don't care." Lena squeezed my hand once the door closed. "She's intense," she whispered. "It'll be fine," I said. "We'll follow the rules." I truly believe that. 2 weeks later, the first violation notice appeared. Grass height exceeded regulation by 0.3 inches. Fine, $50. I laughed and paid it immediately. Then came another. Trash bins visible after 7 p.m. Fine, $75. Then another. Doormat, not approved color. Fine, $100. Each notice carried Margaret's signature, neat, aggressive handwriting. At first, I told myself it was coincidence. We were new. Maybe they were strict with everyone. But the violations kept coming. Car parked in driveway overnight, $150. Seasonal wreath displayed outside approved dates, $200. Within 2 months, we owed over $1,600. Lena started worrying. "We're saving for the baby," she said one night, rubbing her belly. "This stress isn't good." "I know," I said. "I'll be more careful." I measured grass with a ruler. Removed all decorations. Moved the car every night. Nothing helped. The fines kept coming. Oil stain from my old truck, $300. Garage door open while unloading groceries, $200. Flower pots, not approved material, $250. That's when I realized something was very wrong. Margaret was watching us. I went to her house to talk. "These fines are excessive," I said carefully. "Some of these violations are barely violations." "Rules are rules," she snapped. "If we let one person slide, everyone will." "My wife is pregnant," I said. "The stress." "Your personal circumstances do not concern the HOA," she interrupted. "Pay your balance or face escalation." The door slammed shut. Lena's health started suffering. Her blood pressure climbed. The doctor warned us stress could trigger complications. I took on extra freelance work late at night. Still, the balance grew faster than we could pay. I spoke quietly to neighbors. A retired couple, Frank and Elise, invited me in for coffee. "She picks targets," Elise whispered. "Young families. New homeowners. She's driven people out before," Frank added. "Fines them until they can't survive." My stomach dropped. Our balance crossed $4,000. Then came the certified letter. Notice of intent to foreclose. They could take our house. Over grass. Over a doormat. Over control. I hired a lawyer, Rachel Monroe, using money we didn't have. This is harassment, she said. But HOAs have frightening power. We didn't have months to fight. I took a loan against my late father's truck and paid everything. I thought it was over. 2 weeks later, unapproved lawn ornament, $500. A small ceramic figure Lena had placed near the flowers. Something inside me snapped. I confronted Margaret. "You're destroying us," I shouted. "This is harassment." Her smile widened. "If you can't afford to live here, perhaps you should leave." That night, Lena cried until she couldn't breathe. 2 days before her 7th-month checkup, I came home to find her shaking, holding another letter. Outstanding balance, $12,900. Retroactive fees. Charges on fines we had already paid. Rachel confirmed it. Legally aggressive, she said, but technically allowed. Our only option was an HOA board hearing. Margaret chaired the board. The vote was unanimous. Appeal denied. 72 hours to pay or lose our home. Lena collapsed. An ambulance took her to the hospital. Our baby's heartbeat was unstable. And that's when everything changed. While Lena slept under hospital monitors, I started digging. Public records told a story Margaret never wanted told. Divorce, bankruptcy, near foreclosure, years of unpaid property taxes. She was broke, completely and utterly. But where had all the HOA money gone? Willow Creek Heights collected over $120,000 a year in dues. Every single family contributed, trusting that the money would be used to maintain the neighborhood, improve landscaping, and handle emergencies. Yet no matter how many violations Margaret issued, nothing seemed to go back into the community. I requested the financial records. I wanted answers. Within an hour, Margaret denied the request. The audacity. That was illegal, I knew it. But time was running out. Every day, the fines piled up, every violation notice bringing us closer to losing everything. Desperation pushed me to contact an investigative journalist, Ethan Cole. "This is huge," he said over the phone, "but I need proof. Hard proof. Something concrete that can't be ignored." My mind raced. Where would I find it? That's when I remembered Rosa Alvarez, the former HOA secretary who had quit abruptly a year ago. I tracked her down. The moment I explained our situation, she knew exactly what I meant. "I have everything," she whispered. She handed me binders, spreadsheets, invoices, even old bank statements. Fake vendors, phantom services, unexplained cash withdrawals. Over $80,000 missing. I couldn't believe it. Every page was a nail in Margaret's coffin. We handed it all over to Ethan and our attorney, Rachel. The next day, Rachel filed an emergency injunction to halt the foreclosure and freeze the HOA's actions. Ethan's article went live online, and the reaction was instantaneous. Phones blew up with calls. Neighbors gathered, murmuring in disbelief. The story spread like wildfire. Margaret snapped. The woman who had ruled our lives with an iron fist, who had terrorized young families with ridiculous fines, stormed over to our house, screaming at the top of her lungs. "You ruined me," she shrieked, her face red with rage, hands shaking. Lena clutched her belly, tears streaming down her face. My husband stepped forward, holding her protectively. And then it happened. Margaret pulled a gun. The world slowed. She pointed it directly at Lena's stomach, the unborn child we had fought so hard to protect. That terrifying moment is etched in my memory forever. That's where it all began, the moment everything changed. The police arrived within minutes, lights flashing, voices commanding. Margaret's hands trembled. The anger, the power, the control, it all collapsed. She dropped the weapon. Arrested. Charged. Finally, justice had arrived. The HOA collapsed under the weight of her crimes. All fines were dismissed, and Margaret faced the full force of the law. She pleaded guilty, and 8 years in prison were the consequence of her greed, cruelty, and obsession with control. 3 weeks later, Lena gave birth to a healthy baby girl. We named her Hope because that's exactly what she was. A symbol of survival, of justice, of a family that refused to be crushed by a bully. Today, our grass grows freely. Our doormat is whatever color we choose. The garden is filled with gnomes, flowers, and life. We are free, but every time I watch Hope giggle in the sunlight, I remember how close we came to losing everything, how easily control could have destroyed us, and how one family, armed with evidence, courage, and a determination to fight, turned the tables on a tyrant. The story of Willow Creek Heights spread far and wide. Neighbors who had lived in fear finally began to reclaim their streets, decorating, laughing, and living openly without fear of arbitrary fines. Margaret may be in prison, but her story serves as a warning. Cruelty, greed, and obsession with control could be exposed, challenged, and ultimately defeated. Hope runs through her yard now, chasing butterflies and sunlight. Our life isn't perfect. Our grass isn't perfectly trimmed. Our doormat isn't regulated. But we are alive. We are safe. We are free. And that, above all else, is what matters most.
The story's over. Now let's get real. Imagine standing there on all that land, every inch legally yours. If you were in the owner's shoes, what would you do? Let them stay, sell the homes, or pull some other wild move? Drop your answer in the comments and let's see who's the boldest.